We are 2 days away from the state's special legislative session, and while we have some idea what might be covered, we certainly don't know what the outcome is going to be. Joining us to talk about all this is Travis County GOP Chairman Matt Mackowiak and Texas Democratic Party Executive Director Jamar Brown. First and foremost, Matt Mackowiak, we know Senate Bill 7, talking about voter eligibility in the state, is the governor's top priority for this special session. Do you see the governor elevating anything else to high importance?
Oh, no question. There are going to be 4 issues at least on the special session call. It's clear you're going to have bail reform on there as well, which was a sacrifice that House Democrats put forward because they decided to walk off the job. You're going to have deplatforming on social media platforms is something the governor has said he'll also put on there. And we know that the legislative branch that has had their funding cut has to get funded. So those 4 things are going to be on the call. It wouldn't surprise me if something related to border security on the southern border, perhaps funding or some other type of legislation could also make the call as well.
Jamar Brown, talking about Senate Bill 7 when that is revisited, how are the Democrats going to approach this?
Well, one of the things I think that's important for us to recognize here is that we are just less than 48 hours away from the special session, and we don't even know what the full agenda is from the governor. So to me, it seems that the governor and the Republicans in Texas, they are definitely not being transparent about what we're going to discuss this session. But what we saw when they did SB 7 earlier in the legislative session is how the Republicans in this state will continue to attack voters' rights, how they will continue to attack families, and also making sure that they're undercovering the damage until it's too late. But one of the things I think that's important, in addition to the voting rights pieces, also making sure that we understand that there is still this issue called the grid that's happening to make sure that all of our Texans can have electricity. This state has had over 2 decades to be able to fix these things.
Okay. Matt Mackowiak, during the regular session, especially with SB 7, there seemed to be some disorganization amongst the Republicans on how to move forward. Is that going to be different in this special session?
Yeah, I think it will. You have to remember what the problem here was. You had the Democrats put a fundraiser in as Harris County clerk 4 months before the election. He decided to try to do everything he could to use quote unquote emergency powers to violate state election law. And that's why, only because the state of Texas through the Attorney General's office was 13 for 13 on lawsuits, did we not have the kind of nightmarish election consequences in terms of how the election was conducted that you saw in a lot of other states. And so the goal here is to prevent that from ever happening again, where one county clerk can try to put their own laws in place in violation of state election law. Look, it was messy at the end. The House and the Senate needed to come together, and they will this time.
All righty. Jamar, real quickly here, how do you think this special session is going to go?
Well, one of the things I think that's important, again, as I mentioned, right, that we have not talked about how we're going to make sure that we're fixing the grid, that even in this legislative session, following hundreds of Texans dying, there's not been enough reform to know that our power is reliable in the sweltering temperatures that we are facing just from this holiday weekend. And so I think that's a piece that's got to be added and a piece that's important. But again, as I mentioned, the Republican Party, they were anti-voter, that they are attacking voters' rights, that they are attacking our communities and attacking families across Texas, but not realizing and facing the challenges that people are experiencing.
All right. Well, we're going to see what's what in the coming days. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.